Now, my man Joe, whenever you want to, you can call in, Joe, if you are available. I do want to hear specifically about what's going on with the Switch homebrew scene. Do we currently have, I seen the version of Atmosphere did get updated. I did see that. Okay. But do we have the SIG patches going? Do we have all the other softwares? Do we have, what's the other one? Hakate? Is that Hakate? Do we have that going? So I'm gonna go ahead. Let's get you on. All right, we good. Joe, are you on?
You there?
Can you hear me? Oh, I know what it is, Joe. I do this every time. Just you're gonna hear me on the podcast, Joe. Just don't mind me. I'm gonna be a little delayed, but you're gonna hear me
Okay.
catching up very shortly, man. It's one of those things. I've been had the Windows update, man, and everything screwed up. You know how that go, man.
Yeah, that Windows 10 update's horrible.
It is, man. It was a terrible one. So, Joe, how you doing today? First of all,
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
man, I'm doing good, man. Doing great. So, Joe, can you fill us in with the latest? And first of all, before you just get to the resolve, can you tell us some more information as far as like when the update started or when it first came out that you noticed, and some things you probably ran into being the admin of one of the big, if not the biggest, Nintendo Switch modding community on Facebook? Shout you out there. Just fill us in on the details.
Yeah, before we get started, I want to give a big shout out to Eric Lehman. I think that's how I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. I'm horrible with names. He was testing the my repack before I got home, and I come home and my Switch is dead, so now it's on the dock charging. LOL. Um, the biggest change is that in case you're on a older Atmosphere version, let's say you're on Atmosphere and 20.1 and it's not working, update to my latest repack on the Nick Moses '05 Facebook page. That'll fix all your problems. They try to stop Atmosphere 100%, but it didn't work because they hardware flaw, not a software flawed.
Talk to them. They got them. So when this update first happened, Joe, was there
It happened
anything?
today.
It happened today. Glad. I'm glad you told me that.
Yeah,
So when it
yeah.
happened,
The
go ahead.
Yeah, the Atmosphere update. I'm sorry,
No, you
you're
good.
breaking up a little bit. The Atmosphere update came out today, about a couple hours ago, and a lot of people messaging me and says that it works fine. Their MU9 was broken, and this new Atmosphere fixed it. Everything got updated. Signature patches, the Fusey primary got updated. A bunch of stuff got updated. Hikakte is now at 5.6.1. So they try to block out everything, and you can't stop Atmosphere, and you can't stop the signature patch people, and Hikakte. Shout out to those guys.
Mm-hmm. Joe, this is another win. So, Joe, now with that out the way, how is everything working for it right now? Is everything like working fine? Are we still having some issues with certain homebrew, or how do we look in that aspect?
For homebrew users that were using homebrew on higher firmware than 11.0.0, if your homebrew apps were broken for certain applications, they're still broken because we're still waiting for the third-party people to update their own homebrew apps. I haven't heard any problems with applications not working, and as what Nick said in the article, and that gentleman said in the article too, it is correct. You have to be connected to the Wi-Fi network to use the Bluetooth, which is totally stupid.
Wow.
So you're better off using the Homebrew app for Bluetooth than using the official release, because that's stupid. Your Switch is meant for on the go, not to sit at home, even though you use it at home more than you use it on the go.
That's crazy. I can't even believe that. So now, Joe, one question I have for you that I was going to ask before. For those users who are using, I see one came in, Shredder, shout out to you. He said SXOS is lit. For all my SXOS users, and me myself, I just got my OG fixed. So for
Hmm.
those people that are looking to possibly run SXOS and still be able to run Atmosphere, maybe just to try the latest firmware, what would you recommend, or what method would you recommend they do to accomplish that?
To accomplish this, if you basically you have to stay on 11.0.0. I have a video on the Nick Moses 05 Facebook page. You have to use my repack because it's a combination of the SXOS and of the Atmosphere files. To make a long story short, You have to boot into SXOS. Then from there, you have to go to the album section. From there, you can use the AWUL installer, and you can install the games through AWUL because it has the latest signature patches, and you can play all the newest games, even the non-pre-patched games. For instance, the newest game that just came out was Sonic, I forget what it's called for the Switch. That works through SXOS because you're actually installing it through it. When you go to install it, it thinks it's installing through Atmosphere, and in theory, it's not. It's installing through SXOS. Then from there, you can just run it. So basically, the SXOS installer is now useless, but you can install it through OWL, and you can be 100% offline and do all your games through there. That's the best method. My Switch right now is dead. It's charging because I was helping out a user yesterday, and I forgot to turn it off. But I'm going to be doing a full video tutorial guide on how to update to 1.10 for Atmosphere users that are on 13.0.0, and I will be doing a full video guide for the SXOS users.
Nice. So, Joe, if I have a Nintendo Switch and I say, hey, I want to upgrade to the latest firmware, I want to be able to use this Bluetooth driver, but I love SXOS. Would I be safe in having two micro SD cards and maybe one with EmuNAND installed and another with MMC? Would I be able to say,
Yes.
okay, all right, good. So that would work.
Basically, yeah, you have the requirement is your stock NAND has to be on 11.0.0, because here's the deal: my stock NAND for SXOS is on 5.1, and I don't want to update it, so that's why I have two switches. So from there, just boot into Atmosphere and create an EmuNAND. Then you can, after you create the EmuNAND, then you can update it via offline through Daybreak, but you need to do a title override first.
Got it.
From there, you go ahead and you update it with the offline updater, and just make a new folder on your Switch, called OFW, 13.0.0.0, whatever you want to call it, and you can update it through there. For instance, like what Nick was saying with having different OS versions on SD cards, I have that too. I have one SD card that's on 11.1. I have one that's on 12. I have one that's on 12.1. You can do that as long as you can only do that on different SD card through an EmuNAND. And you also need 32 gigabytes of available storage space to create the EmuNAND, so make sure you have enough free space.
Nice. Oh man, you're dropping the jewels today, man.
There's a lot of info, and it's hard to remember off the tip of the tongue.
No, you got it down, man, and that's why I want you to call in. I want you to kind of go through that with everybody. I see a lot of people with as we always hear, the dog can only update the Switch so much, right? So everybody's talking about, oh, my dog updated my Switch. The cat updated, my little sister updated. Oh, I stepped on it. It wasn't updated. I hit no, but it's still updated. We hear them all. So has that been the same trend for this update? Have people been accidentally updating as well, or has this been one that people are now kind of getting it?
No, they're still stupid as bricks. What happened was they were messaging me when 13.0.0 got updated a few hours later. Hey, I updated this. Is there a repack for this yet? I'm like, no, it broke everything.
Yeah, man, I had to ask, man, because some people,
I always everybody listening, back up your NAND, back up your system NAND. It takes up 30 gigabytes of space. It takes about an hour to do, but it's worth it, so you could reflash back in case this happens.
Nice.
That's the best way to do it. People don't listen.
Nah, you're right, man. I think a lot of people are just like, oh, it takes so long for the NAND, but that time could save you, So definitely, I recommend taking the time. And Joe, I'm glad you called in, man. Of course, I'm gonna take a call at the end. I just want you to get in right now, kind of explain the information to everybody. I'm gonna move on. But Joe, when you call at the end, man, I know you got some other stuff to say. We're gonna go ahead and talk about it when you call back, my dude.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to you in a few.
All right, later, man.
Bye.
So my man Joe just dropped some valuable information for everybody. He's gonna call back later. We could talk Switch all day. I do got, the other subjects, but I'm glad he explained that for those who have the modded systems, me included. I want to know, is it, because I'm thinking, hey, you can use multiple SD cards and just have multiple versions. And, Joe also confirmed that. So if you're looking to use Atmosphere, but maybe you're still wanting to hold on to the SXOS, you can. You just have to make your system NAND, okay? which is your official NAND, okay, if you have no mods running, cannot go over 11.0.0. If you do that, you're good to go, okay?